I'm Stephanie Simara Rano, and I'm here to tell you about my ancestors and how my family came here to the United States. My mom's grandpa, he was a bakery man in El Pueblo de Guasapa in El Salvador, and he owned his own bakery, and he made the bread, and he had like the best bread in the village. And then my grandma from my dad's side, she was the kind of like the mayor of the village, and then her husband was a carpenter, and he made like the cribs and everything for the family, and that's how they made money. And then my mom met my dad, and they got married over there and had their first two boys, Josue and Manolo, and they are now 32 and about to be 27. And then there was like the Civil War, which made things really complicated, and then my dad couldn't really go to college because they would try and stop him and get him to go into the military and fight. So then they decided that it'd be better to move here because it'd be better for my brothers and for the family, and it'd be a safer place and there's more opportunities. So then my grandma put in the paperwork and they came here, and then in 1996 I was born. But I didn't really know English because everyone in my family spoke Spanish, and so then I learned English in preschool.
I'm Alton Alexander Hernandez. People call me Alex. I'm from El Salvador. I only have 4 years living in the United States. I come from El Salvador, and my ancestors, they all come from El Salvador, and one of them come from Puerto Rico. So I can say that technically I am one for Puerto Rican, which is cool. I like to know that. My ancestors, they have motivated me to get into the health field because my grandparent, he was a pharmacist, and my other grandparent from my mom's side, he was a veterinarian.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Vasquez, and I'm here to tell you about my ancestors and how I got here. So my grandmother and my grandfather and my mother's side, they were from this small little pueblito in Mexico, in Nuevo León. That's where my mother was raised, in Acuña, Nuevo León. She was born May 30th in 1970. And my father's parents, they were from a little rancho named La Presita near Tula, Tamaulipas. And that's where my father and his 11 brothers and sisters were born and raised. In 1991, my parents met in Reynosa, Tamaulipas, which is more closer to the border. And my dad wanted us to be born here because when my mother was pregnant with my older sister, she wanted to have her in Mexico. But my father told her that no, that there's way more opportunities here in the United States.
My name is Angelo Cruise. I was born in Illinois. I was raised in Mexico. My parents decided to take me when I was 1. The time I was in Mexico, I did a lot of agriculture. I farmed corn, jamaica, and a lot of stuff. I was around roosters. My family's, they're into roosters. They fight them, and they breed them. We have a lot of roosters. I remember when my mom asked me if I wanted to come back. That's when I was 10. And I remember they said them in my face. I said yes, because I was trying to meet my dad. He stayed here in the United States.
Hi, my name is Christian Maher. I'm from right here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I was born at Blodgett Hospital June 7th, 1996. My dad is from Grand Rapids as well, but his ancestry can be dated back to Ireland. My mom is from Maracay, Venezuela, born May 21st, 1974. Her ancestors also come from the Southern American region in countries such as Colombia and Venezuela, and also the small island of Trinidad and Tobago. I'm happy that my ancestors came here because obviously it's the greatest country in the world, and there are many opportunities here in the U.S. than probably any other country I would have been in before.
My name is Jose Mesa. I was born in Mexico. I came here when I was 9. My parents decided to come here because they wanted a better life for me and my brothers.
So my name is Mary Cruz. I was born March 6, 1996 in Miami, Florida. My history goes back to Mexico, a place called Querétaro, and that's where my mom's family is from, and also my dad. And my grandpa, he's the one that brought my mom over. They crossed the Grand River, and they came to Michigan to work in the apple orchards. And after a year, my mom left to Florida, and that's where she had me at 16. And then we found our way back to Michigan when I turned 14, and all of this couldn't have happened without my grandpa.
What?
Hi, I'm Becky,
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
and we're from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Of course, my parents were originally from Mexico, and they came over here. My mom came here because of my grandpa. He got papers, so he decided to arrange papers for my mom. My dad, I think he came with a coyote, I'm not sure. Coyote is someone that you charge for them, so they can like bring you over to the U.S. Not legally, illegally, there you go. So like you have to swim through the river and everything. Before he met my mom, he was a coyote. My mom, she wanted, because she wanted kids, and she wanted us to have a better life. She wanted us to have a better education, and my dad, he just came here for a better job.
My parents came to the U.S. originally because they wanted a better life. Mexico was really poor over there in some areas, depending where you live. And where my parents were at, everything was it's really, really bad. And they didn't want us to be raised there, and my parents both took the risk of coming all the way over here. They came separate, so they didn't come together here. My mom came earlier than my dad. She came here, I think, like a week before he did, and her way of coming here was easier, and it was just it's like crossing the street, kind of. It's that easy for my mom, but my dad, he had to go through the whole desert thing. And it was hard because my mom said that she would cry and she was always worried, and then that he wouldn't get here safely and stuff. She always tries to give back, and my dad tries to give back because when we got here, we had nothing. And we lived in an apartment where there was 5 other families with us, and they had 4 or 5 kids. I remember being a little girl, and I always had to sit on one of the beds with my sister, and we would just sit there and we couldn't even be moving a lot because there was just so many kids. It was just difficult living in a house where there was just so many people, so much chaos. We had to fight for the bathroom, who had to take a shower, moving the cars out the driveway. And it was an apartment, so it wasn't so big. It just had a kitchen, 1 bathroom, and then some little tiny living room. And that's where I stayed for the first 2 years.